And now here we are at the third round of Agave Road Trip in a Box. And this round is the unaged
H.
round. Unaged. So what we're drinking here are two spirit. We're actually, our friend Gilberto from the last round up in Durango. We're just gonna go. What do you think it is? Like maybe 100 miles from his place over to Mariano's place.
I don't know, miles. No, a lot less, like 40K, 50K.
Okay, there you go. So we're gonna go about I don't know 25, 35 miles over to visit our friend Mariano Vazquez. And Mariano Vazquez is making a spirit with cenizo. What is cenizo chava?
Cenizo, aka Agave duranguensis, is the most common, most used, most beloved agave in Durango, and it's a wonderful one. It's say, and I think it's a first statement. It's like the espadin of Durango in terms of how
So it reaches
readily
maturity
available.
first, is what you're
Yeah.
saying.
Well, I'm not sure if it's at least it's the one that people like the most, or it's the most common you'll find. If you go to any vinata, because they call them their production sites, they call them vinatas in Durango, not palenques. If you go to any vinata and they have run out of all their product, at least they're gonna have a bottle of cenizo. How about that, Lou?
That seems fair. I'll take that.
Okay,
Okay, so what is Mariano doing to make his cenizo spirit?
he's producing exactly the same way as Gilberto. I cannot think of any possible
Mm,
difference.
I
Which
can't.
difference will you
I'm pretty sure
point
he's
out?
using a steel still. He
Still?
is. Yep, his stills are steel. They're made of steel, Java.
Oh, okay, okay,
Hmm.
okay. But
Hmm.
for both distillations, because sometimes something I saw in Durango was they had the steel bottom for the first distillation. They will move on for copper for the
Mm-mm.
second.
Not in
Both.
his case. He's gone 100% steel.
That's interesting. And something you have to know about Mariano is he's very specific. His place is very well put together. It's very clean. It's very
It's
every.
beautiful.
It's very nice. Yes, and but it's still a very small operation. It's only two
Hmm.
to three stills,
Hmm.
and I don't know his capacity, but I don't think he's able to produce more than 1,000 liters a month.
I've never asked him. It's a very good question. But
Anyway,
I know he's not able to drink more than 1,000 liters a month. So you're
well, yeah, he
probably in the range. Yeah.
that is correct.
Yeah.
He doesn't drink, but anyway,
So
move
there
on.
you go. So what we've got here is his cenizo, and it's unfortunately we couldn't get the two expressions from the same batch because the timing just didn't work out. But they're both cenizo expressions made by Mariano in the same way. One of them, I would say unaged, but certainly unaged in wood, though it rested in glass. The other one, aged in wood, in oak.
Mhm.
And
And
And so you'll hear a lot of people, you'll hear a lot of mezcal geeks tell you you would traditionally never age mezcal in wood. And and yes, in fact, you would. Maybe not in the communities that they are specifically familiar with. Because I know a lot of communities where if you start in Oaxaca in particular, you start talking about wood aged mezcal, they're like, oh no, nobody does that. This is Durango. It's a different place. Don't tell me that somebody in Oaxaca knows the traditions of Durango. They don't even know the traditions of the community 50 miles away in Oaxaca.
I'm pretty sure most people in Oaxaca have never met a human from Durango. I'm sure they've met more people from France than Durango.
There you
So
go.
yeah, there's not a lot of connections or overlap.
So we were having this conversation with Mariano about the wood aging and whether or not it's traditional while we're in his house, and he set up this beautiful room, like a party room, that has giant blown up photographs of his family's connection to mezcal. Because is it his grandfather and his great grandfather who used to make it?
Yes, and then his father stopped making it, and now he's taking over again the tradition.
So he had these beautiful blown up pictures that included his grandfather transporting mezcal in wooden barrels on a donkey over the mountains to deliver it into the town of Durango. And as he pointed out, there's this trend where you can wood age things quickly by putting them into the barrel and then putting the barrel on a ship, so it's on the swaying water. And as Mariano pointed out, you think a ship sways a lot. You ride on the back of a donkey over a mountain, you're talking a lot of swaying.
And those specific mountains too,
Yeah.
because the mountains of Durango are significant. They're
Yeah.
significant traveling.
So, to his point, yeah, it is a tradition of wood aging. Whether it was intentional or not, by the time you got the mezcal and by the time you finished drinking it, it had been aged in wood. It was donkey aged wood aged, donkey aged spirits.
Great branding, Lou.
Thank you.
And I think something else that someone in the last session we did for Maguey Melate pointed out, and it's awesome, is that the fact that these barrels had to be carried by a donkey also made them smaller.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
usually the way you age stuff in wood are like significantly bigger barrels. So this was not only aged in a sewing motion, but it was also in a smaller vessel, which
Which
we
means there
also
was
think
more surface area to liquid, which means, yeah, more
more
contact,
contact and
more
more
aging.
of the interesting stuff happening. So yeah,
Yeah,
we just
yeah,
think that's
yeah.
some.
Now,
Well, me, you, who goes?
take it, Chava.
No, I think another characteristic of these spirits that you're going to drink is they are the lowest proof of the whole box.
That's exactly where I was headed. Yeah,
Oh yeah, sure. You're
yeah.
just making stuff up.
No, no, no,
Uh,
no. Seriously, it's funny. Like I still don't have a set of what you're tasting right now, so I haven't tasted these. I have a 45% ABV version of the wood age cenizo that I just absolutely love. And some people were telling me, what did it clock in at now? Is it like 35%?
I think it's somewhere around 35. Yeah.
Yeah, and somebody had suggested that it tasted watery and that bothered them. And I've come around to the without having tasted it, right? I've come around to this idea that uh, as a guy who used to not want to drink anything below 50%, um, that watery isn't bad. Watery is watery. And in fact, a lot of the flavor profile that we recognize in every one of these agave spirits is water. Not because the water was added after the
Mhm.
process, but because the water is a significant portion both of the process of making the spirits, but then also at the end, if it's 50% alcohol, it's 50% water. And if that water comes from a source like a spring or a river, it's going to reflect the flavors of the community, the minerals that are in the soil in a significant way.
And something really important about where Mariano produces, it's very far into the nature. And his water sources are beautiful. Actually, the whole area where he produces is named after a river. When we were there, it was way too cold for us to want to go down into the valley and get close to water. But yeah, we're freezing. And when he suggested, do you want to get close to the river? We're like, no, no, thank you very much. We'd rather just sit by your chimney and drink aged agave spirits. But his
Which
water source is very beautiful.
you brought this up in that first tasting with Maguey Melate that we did. And you said it was an epiphany for you as we sat next to that giant open fireplace, that it was an epiphany for you on a cold night to drink this wood aged spirit, and it gave you an appreciation for wood aged mezcal that you hadn't had previously.
Yes, and I think that, and I even pointed out then that different cultures create, even there's this concept of comfort food, no? And I think comfort means very different things from very different cultures. And Oaxaca is always very warm. So honestly, it's like smoking a cigarette in Oaxaca. I cannot imagine why will anybody want to smoke when it's 35 Celsius outside. But when it's 1 Celsius, it's freezing cold. You sort of try to create products that are going to give you some comfort for that environment. And I think there's a reason why it's Scotland they were aging in wood. And I think there might be a cultural like interest of comfort in why in Durango they're doing this, to be by a fireplace drinking this and feeling great, because I did feel great. So
That's beautiful. So just
empirical.
last note on this particular round, there's a that you should have received in the mail if you purchased the kit is this patch kit that corrects some of the errors that we made, some of the errors that I made, the errors that Chava made after I corrected the errors. That's all on him. But this is not a reposado. This aged. It's an añejo. It was aged for a year in virgin oak. In virgin oak.
Lovely.
And yeah. Oh, and the name of that community that he's from in Durango is Llano Grande. Llano Grande.
Llano Grande. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Let's move on. See you guys in the fourth session.
Lovely.